Hello and welcome to Digital Freethought Radio Hour on WOZO Radio 103.9 LP FM right here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Today is Sunday, May 10th, 2020, and I'm Larry Rhodes, Doubter 5. And as usual, we have our co-host Wombat on the phone with us. Hello, Wombat.
And sings my soul, my Savior died for me. How great thou art! How great thou art!
You have a great
Praise
voice.
Quad.
Great voice.
Praise Quad.
And our guests today are Joy Woods, Chad's not here, but Boudreaux is, and Dread Pirate Higgs. Hello, guys.
Hey.
Leave anybody out? I don't think so. Digital Freethought Radio Hour is a talk radio show about atheism, free thought, rational thought, humanism, and the sciences. And conversely, we also talk about religion, religious faiths, gods, holy books, and superstition. I guess I did miss it. If you get the feeling you're the only non-believer in Knoxville, well, you're just not. There are several atheist, free-thinking, and rationalist groups that exist right here in Knoxville, and we'll be telling you how you can connect with them right after the mid-show breaks. Did you know that there was a streaming call-in atheist video show broadcasting right here in Knoxville? Did you know that? Wombat, it has been for 10 years.
I have not been, well, I tried to watch it. I only got to the second episode. I feel really bad about the tigers. I feel like if you make a show about how tigers are exploited, but you're kind of exploiting the people who are exploiting the tigers, you're still, at the end of the day, exploiting tigers.
Well, yeah.
I can't watch a show with
I agree with you 100%, but it has nothing to do with their atheist call-in video show. One of these days you'll find it. And we'll be telling you how right after the mid-show break, so you can check that out. Remember, if you don't have an atheist group in your town, start one.
Nice.
Easy as that. If you'd like to interact with us during the show, go to Facebook and search for our Digital Freethought Radio Hour and use the messaging function to send questions or comments. Wombat, what do you have for us today as far as a topic?
I got a lot of stuff I want to talk about, but actually I want to throw this one out to Eric. Boudreaux, you had a really cool topic that you wanted to bring up, and I wanted to freestyle on that. So will you mind spitting what we're about to drop down today?
Certainly, and I love the way you characterize my question to make it even more fitting for this group. So the idea kind of spawned from being on Facebook, which I know many of us are doing too much of, and it incites bad emotions and thoughts and arguments.
For me, it's a cycle between Twitter, Facebook, and then Reddit, and then I was like, I hate all these places, and then I just go to the next place, and I'm just in a circle. I'm like, why am I wasting time?
It's all the same thing.
But some friends of mine, some intelligent friends of mine, post these off the wall, crazy things. Now, I say that because it seems crazy to me, but to them, it probably isn't crazy. But you will see posts that make claims that just don't even echo anything of scientific reasoning or backup or evidence, but people are clinging to these thoughts and these things and memes, and they're sharing them, and other people are buying into it. And I think,
give me an example.
Well, one was a top 10 list or however many of things happening currently with COVID-19, and basically saying, do I think it kills people? Yes. Do I think the hospitals are being overrun? Yes. And it goes down this list, and it just gets nuttier and nuttier.
So far.
But
sounds good so far. What's the problem here?
They're trying to hook you.
Virus, yes.
They're trying to say, I agree with these things, but then do you think that the government is taking away our liberties? Do you think that the media is conspiring to create this politicalization of it? Just kind of goes off the rails from there, and it keeps going. And I think your point, Wombat, was how do you engage with these people on Facebook, or how do you engage with them at all?
People who are your friends but are posting kind of nutty stuff.
It's almost like
stuff. What's the right word for it?
Like Snopes. Like when someone posts something and you put a Snopes link on there saying, "Hey, this has been debunked. You just don't stop posting this. It's wrong," and they get mad. And how do so I'm out of ideas. I've tried to engage with people before, and it just makes them mad. And
well, tell me what didn't work, and then we can learn from that.
Well, I guess I've found that one friend in particular hated the fact that I challenged them openly on Facebook. You know, like, hey, you should have private messaged me this, and I think they're embarrassed. But but they're the ones making the open claim on
Right.
Facebook. So
Sure.
I didn't think I'm not allowed to openly disagree with them. Another way I try to engage someone recently is someone posted a response to the Plandemic, the video. I don't know much about it, but it's another.
What is this
conspiracy
thing that
theory.
people are referencing? Man, this is the
planned
fourth time I've heard about it
pandemic?
this week.
Yeah, this is-
pandemic.
I gotta
What
check
is
that
this?
out.
I don't want to know what it is, but I also want to know what it is, just like in the conversation. But I don't want to know about it. It's the Sam Harris of,
yeah.
of coronavirus stuff. Just could you briefly inform me or anyone else who's wondering, like, what the hell are these? What is this portmanteau that you're putting together?
All I know about it is it's some anti-vaxxer doctor who I think has been kicked out of the scientific community for publishing erroneous data and faked data and changed data, and it keeps getting removed from YouTube or other places, and people are mad about it because they think the media is pulling down this real science that the scientists don't want to show. And-
Suppressing
yeah.
the theories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and my reaction to that is, hey, this whoever this lady is, she doesn't need to convince us non-experts. She needs to convince the other experts, and if she can't do that, we shouldn't give it any time of day, I think.
Yeah, but I think I wish that was a majority mindset, but at the same time, my question would be: is it really beneficial and productive to delete it? Why not just let people like us comment on it and put, Snopes links in
Yeah.
the
Well,
comment
I
and debunk it?
figured
Because I
that
think when you delete it, it just makes a lot of people think that's kind of shady, and they kind of are more drawn to it than they
Yeah,
would.
but people don't like facts.
well, the thing about it is, if they post it on Facebook, they're
That's the
inviting
quote.
comment. I mean, that's unless they have comments turned off, then if that's the case, then you can just bypass it and go on. But if they post it and leave comments open, they're asking for it. They're asking for you to comment on it.
Yeah, I like that. You have the ability to, don't you have the ability on Facebook to say no comments allowed on a post?
Turn off
then
commenting.
Then it's free form, baby.
Yeah.
Though I do think that when you are, a lot of people post not thinking that they're in a public setting. They just do it because they think, oh, this is my safe little bubble. Of course I can post it here. I don't need to put these safe walls. And they also aren't used to getting challenged on the internet, because the internet very much caters to you as a potential customer of ads, such that if I look up Apple, I've done this before. I've looked up Apple on my computer, and I get the company and I get the stock price that's associated with it. And my friend will look up Apple and he gets the fruit. And my other friend will look up Apple, and it's apples are fruit.
Sure.
Yeah, like people are like, what apples are fruit? It's like, absolutely. Larry, why are you giving me that confused look?
No,
It's
I'm
an
with you. If I
algorithm
put
that
in-
these things
if
are
I-
following, right?
If
Yeah.
I put in Apple, I'm going to get stock prices or something.
Yeah, because Google's like, well, you're a person of blank and blank, you're male, you're blah, 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 blah. We know what you want when you say this. And so the whole internet, more or less, is looking through your cookie history and being like, when you put in this weird gibberish keyword phrase, we already know what server to pull the information from, and we know what you're going to look at next, and we know what you're probably going to buy next. So we're going to throw these ads out here at the right time, and the internet just becomes this place where you're always happy because you're always seeing what you want. And then here comes, Boudreaux's little counterclaims, like, actually, here are some facts that show that you're wrong. It's like, not in my world. Get out of my domain. How dare you? How dare you, sir? How do I disable comments? Do I need to do that here? Do I need to lock my doors? Gary, I'm wondering, like, is Canadian Facebook any more polite? Because you might be
No.
our last bastion.
No, absolutely not. And
isn't it
I
the
find
same?
actually in this the small town that I live in, it's very acerbic. There's on everything, and I always try to stay on my Dread Pirate Higgs account, just because I only speak to the people I'm interested in talking to. If I go on my generic Gary Smith account, it's the unrestricted flow of the essentially the sewer pipe of Facebook. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joey, how do you feel about the idea of, you had mentioned that you didn't want the video to be deleted. Is there ever a point in time where it might be good to control how media is being delivered? Like if there was, for example, the video could have further drive people to do more crazy things or cause hate crimes, or I don't know, whatever. Is there a line where it's like, it was probably a good move to delete it at this point? Like, we're just not in the mood where we need more inflammatory information at this point.
I see. It's not a very black and white topic, because it goes down the road of freedom of information, and it's almost just, my only response would be I just wish it didn't have to be deleted. I wish it just, nobody would be interested in it, because people would do their own research and know that that's just bullshit. But I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Wah, wah.
Have to write that one down.
Just keep going.
Yeah, so I don't really know, because at what's the motive behind it? At what point, you're trying to, protect people from themselves, or protect people from false information? I mean, how far does that go? And who's to say what's false information? And that's like, when we have the freedom to do would it be best for us all to have the freedom to do our own research? I mean, if it, even if a lot of us go down the wrong road, it's just, I don't know. It just enters into a grander topic about, what power should a corporation have, and what kind of power should a government have over a people too. It goes down to that. It's just,
So I actually looked at that top 10 list, and at the start, it seemed like it was building up some yes momentum, which is like, hey, do you have two thumbs? I have two thumbs, sure. Hey, do you breathe outside? I breathe outside. Is there a virus going on? Yes. And I'm like, yeah. And then it was like, started getting, you're right, Bujo, started getting a little like squirmy with the words, because I was like, shouldn't I keep agreeing with this? And I think that one of the things was like, is American liberties or American rights being violated by, like the idea that you have to shelter in home? And I was like, I mean, I understand the idea of like, we have a right to protest and go outside, but like, not if it's absolutely detrimental to, like, if you go out and die from a virus that you can't control, I think like
Or
most
kill
people
others.
would say, yeah. I think we'd be like, okay, there's a line here. You virtually protest. You don't literally have to hold a picket outside and be like, I'm angry, because no one's going to see you anyway, because no one can go outside. Maybe it was just think about it for like 3 seconds. So I'm going to say no here. And then as you went down further and further, it was like, no. No. So, that's a list of 10 different things, maybe 6 things that I don't agree with. Where do you even begin to start with as far as like your response to like, wow, I just saw you post this. How can I even formulate my response? Bujo, how would you even begin? What's the response format?
This is where, I mean, we've got the mind trust here. I was hoping we could answer this question, because I really am. My instinct now is to continue to be friends with this person and not say anything. And, I mean, that's where I feel like I'm stuck. I want to. Right. I will say the other example I gave was someone posting the Plandemic video, and someone had posted a kind of debunking video of that. And wow. I said, thank you for sharing this. We really need this out there, because a lot of people, Joey, as you're saying, I mean, they don't have, I think, the capability of detecting that it's wrong. So they're buying it. So in a response, I put out a video that debunks that junk video, and I tagged the person that shared the Plandemic video first. Okay. In it, and I said, yeah, thanks for posting this. A lot of people need to see this. Really smart people are buying into this stuff. What do you think? Tagged friend. 0 response from him. 0. But on his own post, he was plenty willing to argue with me up and down. So
you're a social media wizard. What is your take on like all of this, and how would you go about responding?
The main response, I would think, is that the coronavirus doesn't respect anybody's rights. I mean, there's just no rights involved. I mean, if you get exposed to it, whether you're inside or outside, or somebody outside ignores the threat because they say that they have rights to commingle, and then go visit their grandparents at a nursing home or something, and that starts a pandemic inside the nursing home. That's just totally irresponsible.
Yeah.
I mean, and the rights go out the window. We have to. There are levels to your rights, and the right to societal health, I guess, is higher than your personal right.
Sure.
Like the
It's
idea
all
of
part
a
of the social
welfare.
contract, right?
Exactly. It's my well-being that we really have the rights for. And if you're doing something that harms the well-being, even if you're exercising rights, you're not really going towards the foundation of why we have rights in the first place.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Larry,
Can I
what
point
else
out
you
the
got?
crux? Can I point out
go
the
for it.
crux with this argument, though?
Go for it. Go for it.
Sure.
Some people are claiming using science that it's not true. It's not having the death rate and all the other stuff that we're hearing. So if the question is, we're telling you to stay home, but your liberal scientists, your brainwashed liberal scientists are lying to us about the problem now, and again, I'm trying to play devil's advocate here because obviously I agree with science in this case. Now the argument is we are not trying to tell you to stay home because of the dangers of spreading this thing. We're telling you to stay home because we're lying to you about this, and it's some power trip or control trip.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I think that it's not just the power trip. This is an election year, and people congregate. Town halls, they go voting, they do all kinds of things. It's a political activity, which is a protected political activity to congregate. It's protected by the Constitution.
Right.
And some people say that this is all a hoax to keep us from congregating, to keep us from being politically active during an election year.
From occupying the
Yeah,
streets, so to speak.
my main issue with this is just that, I mean, the government is not, their hands aren't clean, and I get the suspicion of things, but if you look at the quote power grabs that governments do, there's profit involved in their power grabs, and I fail to see what the profit is here.
What is the
power.
profit?
If there's a power grab going on, it's just like what is their what's their point? What's the
long-term power play?
Well, yeah. Well, the power. If you have power, you can generate profit. If you lose power, you lose the ability to generate profit. From being in office. So, I mean, that's where the conspiracy theory comes from, that you can't congregate.
Yeah, but you
that
can't
would keep
profit
them.
if there's like no economy. It is damaging.
Yeah.
So why would they do this in the first place?
Well, I see a failure. I see a failure in the argument that it's preventing us from congregating because we're congregating. We're online here, five of us from all different parts of the country or North America here. It's really actually driving us together in some respects, because I'm having now more conversations with people I am more inclined to empathize with or sympathize with in terms of subject and content and all that kind of stuff, as opposed to just listening to who's available.
Right. I think in the same epistemological way where we always try to think of a better way to think, we can think of better ways to protest in the circumstances that we are currently in.
Absolutely.
If there was a volcano outbreak, like the movie Volcano, amazing movie, you got to watch it. It's amazing.
I haven't seen
watching all the old 90s movies.
Like
amazing.
Dante's Peak or something?
No, it's like Armageddon, but cheesier. It comes from the earth. Yes. So like if there's literally lava all throughout the streets and it's burning cars and melting everything, you want to go outside and protest like, hey, I hate lava. Like, this is bad because you're standing in the lava. It's like, no, let's just think about this a little bit and like take the high ground and find better places to do this safely. We can still protest, but let's do it in a way that's very safe, that make sure that we still exercise our rights, but we aren't causing needless harm, which is the main reason why we have these rights in the first place. And if we can still protest and if we can still congregate, then maybe we don't have to have a picket and be out on the street where we're coughing on each other to protest. Maybe there's better ways to do this. And I think because of that, I don't think there's an infringement on my rights. I still feel like I have the ability to do all the protesting and congregating that I need to do. As Gary just pointed out, we're congregating right now. But there's a better way to do it. And it goes back to, are people willing to critically think for just a moment and come to that conclusion on their own? Or are they more inclined to just hear someone say, this is violating my rights, and allow the emotion to find a connection with something that's not necessarily based in reason? I feel like it's very easy to fall into those traps over and over again.
Right.
I have this concern that there's something a little deeper going on, and I mentioned this over the messenger. It almost seems like they're looking for a fight, like they've been, like a lot of these guys that are, going to the protests with AK-47.
Oh,
It's almost like they've been waiting, like they've been waiting for an opportunity to show their patriotism, and pronouncing it in English.
No, you said it in French. So like Gary was laughing. He understands. He's like, oh yeah, finally.
Patriotism.
That's what it's good. But anyway, show their patriotism to show that it's just, but it just doesn't seem to fit. It almost seems like I don't know. It's just a very bizarre.
Like what are they going to do? Shoot the virus or something? It just we're going to assemble and we're going to do it with guns.
I shouldn't laugh at that, but there are some people who probably believe guns could solve that problem as well. Like I never take the opportunity to say, like, there's going to be someone out there who's just like, I have min-maxed. This is just a very quick tangent. There are some people who like soda, carrots, school, cars, and like maybe basketball, right? And then there are some people who just like one thing, and they're all about that one thing. And sometimes guns are for that one person. They're just like, I'm all about guns. I've min-maxed all my skills, all my intelligence points, everything into guns. And so if there's a virus outbreak,
what else I do, I'm going to have a gun.
Exactly. If there's a virus outbreak, I got a gun. If there's a zombie outbreak, gun. If there's anarchy in the streets, gun. If I need to help deliver a baby tomorrow, I got a gun. Something happens, I got my gun on me. Step one. Everything else, step two.
Push.
Yeah, exactly. You better push. I was like, I'm pushing. It's like, I'm helping. I have a gun.
There's that saying, when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And so the idea of resolving coronavirus with an AK-47 is very funny, but I imagine there has to be at least two people out there who are like, that's a good idea, Larry. Thank you for giving it to me.
Yeah. What do you do?
All right. So we got 5 minutes left before we wrap up. How about this? Just as a quick wrap up session, we're going to be talking about crazy things that we've heard on the internet and how we can approach them in a better way. And does anyone have, let's see, Joey, Larry, you, like I said, you were a social cat. You've been on the internet. Have you heard any crazy things on the internet, like relating to the coronavirus panic and people are scared and they're trying to figure out, like, here's a conspiracy that I've fallen into?
No, nothing comes to mind. Somebody else answer, if you will, and I'll think about it and see if I came up with anything.
I've literally had a DM to me in Messenger from one of my old English teachers saying that we need to cover our gas exhausts because that's where the virus is coming from. And so there was instructions with how much Kleenex that you need and a rubber band to put over your exhaust to keep the virus from coming out.
Just give them a potato.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
and I saw that message,
and
and my response to that, and this happened like maybe 3 weeks ago, my response was, what virus? And she responded like, are you serious? And at that point, I just had to like archive the conversation. I was just like, I can't deal with that today. I'm sorry. But that was a teacher that I've had in the past. So like, I don't think anyone is, and I'm
no one's immune.
No one's immune. So I'm always wondering in my own head what kind of biases I'm carrying around with me. And those are going to be the most interesting ones, of course, right? Yeah. All right. I'd say we're at the bottom of the half hour. Larry, why don't you take us out?
Okay. This is Digital Freethought Radio Hour and WOZO Radio 103.9 LP FM right here in Knoxville, Tennessee. And we'll be right back after this short message.
103.9 FM, WOZO, Digital Freethought Radio Hour.
Simply the best.
Nice. I like it. I love it. Hey, we got an ad this time. The ad is for soap. Hey, do you like saying wordy dirties? Do you have problems not cursing when you're told not to? I have the solution for you. It's called soap. You put it in your mouth, you just
Or
wash
have
it
your mother
around
put it in your mouth
every
for
single
you.
time. It's amazing, and it saves the world editing time. Isn't that amazing? It's so wonderful. Get soap today. Go outside, get soap, put it in your mouth, and be clean for the rest of your life. All right, back to the show.
Okay.
Good. Welcome back. I'm Dr. Five. This is Digital Freethought Radio Hour and WOZO Radio 103.9 LPFM right here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Today is Sunday, May 10th, 2020. Welcome back to the second half of the show. Let's talk about the Freethought groups that you can join here in Knoxville. First, there's the Atheist Society of Knoxville. ASK was founded in 2002. We're in our 18th year. We have over 1,000 members now, and you can join us online at knoxvilleatheist.org or go directly to Meetup. It's a Meetup group, and join the Meetup group searching for Knoxville Atheists. It's just that simple. By the way, if you don't live in Knoxville, and you should go to Meetup and search for a group in your town. Don't find one? Start one. That's right.
Nice.
Another large free-thinking group here in Knoxville are the Rationalists of East Tennessee. RET can be found at rationalist.org. Go there and click on upcoming events to find out what they're up to. Earlier in the show, we said we'd talk about Knoxville's Atheist Call-In TV show.
Wait, we have an Atheist Call-In TV show?
Yeah, it could happen. It's been going on for 10 years here in Knoxville. It's been going out on the community TV radio of a TV station. However, this year we've changed to YouTube format so that we can do our own thing there without having to pay this local studio. Go to YouTube and search for 3 words: Freethinkers United Coalition of Knoxville. Okay, 4 words.
Oh,
Remember, you can find archives of their show on YouTube where a fan has been posting them. Also, if you're interested in becoming involved with the TV show or this radio show, you can come to an Ask Meetup RET meeting or just talk to us about it. Go on Facebook, look for Digital Freethought Radio Hour, and leave us a comment. With us on the show, we have the Wombat.
I'm the Wombat.
Joey, we have Boudreaux and Dread Pirate Hicks. Pick up the comments and let us know what you think. Okay, so we were talking about conspiracy theories and strange facts.
Yeah, like what do you do when your friend starts posting crazy stuff on Facebook? And then how can you start that conversation with them to hopefully build the bridge for them to get back to the land of reason? Because you obviously like this person, you care about them, and you've never seen them post this way, so maybe it's easier to get them back to a more copacetic state of mind, the one that attracted you to them.
First thing I do is look it up in Scopes and then give them the link. I'll look it up somehow, give them information that debunks it.
What is Scopes?
Pretty much all you can do.
And is Scopes superior to like Wikipedia or just like
you mean Snopes, right? Snopes,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Snopes.
It's the website. I
It's
think
a bunking
I think
website.
it also depends on how well you know somebody and if they are
Amenable.
maybe if they're in any kind of mindset to have a civil discussion about anything or that particular topic. So
and I think the biggest thing is don't ad hominem, like don't go after them as a person.
No.
Don't call them stupid or that's a ridiculous idea. It's stay calm, don't panic, and proceed calmly, right?
Answer claims with facts.
Yeah.
Right.
So if I was, help me out here, and I try not to get involved in internet arguments in the first place, but I found that when I'm doing my SE, I never make a comment directly at the person who's holding the belief or a comment directly at the conclusion that they have. I'm only interested in that thread that's connecting the two. And
Absolutely.
I'll always ask questions about how did you arrive at this conclusion? Because if it came there reasonably, I'll believe whatever the conclusion is. So I don't care about the conclusion, and I don't care who's given to me. I just care about that method. And so if someone said something crazy, I'll be like, how did you come to that conclusion? And if they say, I read it in a fortune cookie, that gives me all the grounds I need to be like, are fortune cookies reliable? Is this the best way to come to it? Is there a better way? What's a better way to come to this same conclusion than this one that you're using right now? And until then, until we have that better way, why are we putting so much confidence in this one particular method? But I don't know if that works in a Facebook setting. Like, I don't think a lot of people are willing to have that extended kind of conversation. And that's the disadvantage that I've noted when I'm about to post on a comment thread, because I know I don't have the time to invest, and I know the way how I speak and like the temper and the syncopation that I'm using and the body language that I'm using won't translate well when someone's reading my words in their head and putting, I don't know, maybe they make a nasal like, Tyrone said this, and I can't respect this voice. It's like, no, don't say it like that. Put the bass in, baby. Put that. What's that guy's name? Who was the guy?
Barry.
Eric. Who was the guy who helped us set up the tent? Who was like the famous atheist dude? You know who
Seth
I'm talking
Andrews.
about. Yeah, that guy. The guy who's always up on the mic whenever he's doing his podcast. But when he's helping us and when he's helping us set up a tent, he's like, hey guys, you need some help setting up the tent? You're like, who's this guy? Is that Seth Andrews? Hey, I'll help you guys out. Thanks. I'll hold my tape recorder. It's like, okay. Anyway, I'm back to being Seth Andrews.
Hopefully he doesn't follow.
Seth, I don't know this guy.
I would theorize that sometimes the insertion of emojis helps to relate some of the gesticulations that might not be translated over by what you just simply write. It's good to just put a smiley face or a wink or a
Dread Pirate. You kind of triggered me now, because there are very few black emojis. And I'm tired of being represented by a yellow Simpsons character.
Well, I'm not yellow either.
I want my emojis.
Now this is beautiful. Ty doesn't have an iPhone, and iPhone's iOS app launched a long time ago the ability to pick your skin tone. Every emoji.
Oh,
on the phone,
whoa, that's cool.
Really,
I want that.
Might have to
There
get
you
one
Wait,
now.
you can be like light skin brown, kind of brown, really dark. Really?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Be yellow.
That's what we need.
Yep.
That's what we need. I'm tired of like, hey, that's not my thumbs up. Whose thumbs up is that? That's not. That doesn't look like my hand. Whose hand is this?
Now my
the ones
question.
on Facebook are all blue.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Maybe, I don't know. It's been a while,
Facebook.
but I'm not blue either. I screw.
Uh,
There are some blue people out there. They're like,
Hey,
finally.
in Kentucky there are.
They're
Yeah,
just
it's
very
true.
sad.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
a whole family full of them.
They're just sad. They're blue.
Anyway.
Yeah.
In the Las Vegas.
So
Blue
with that
Man Group.
information, like with the idea of like, how can you really address an epistemology over the internet? Like, what's the best way of doing that? Larry, what do you think?
I've just been doing it, just, finding facts, Googling it from good sources, and I'll try to approach them with a knowledgeable orientation, I guess I should say, and just address the claims and debunk them as best I can. That's
Do you do
only
it publicly, or do you like try to find a
publicly.
one-on-one?
Publicly.
Okay.
I mean, because all of my stuff, if I can do any of it, I try to do publicly. The reason being, if you don't convince that person, the other people reading it may understand where you're coming from and be convinced.
Right.
Mm.
It
A
might
lot
be
of
enough
people
just
are
to
beyond
stop them
convincing.
from.
Dread Pirate, what do you think? What's a good way to address epistemologies over the internet? With someone on the
Well,
internet?
I think pretty much in the same way that that Doubter 5 was saying. Again, I just try to proceed as calmly as possible, insert as many links to reliable and credible sources of information, and just try to make a good argument.
What do you think is the likelihood of any of those links being clicked and then processed in the same way that someone who's biased against that information will interpret?
But this is and again, to share Larry's point, is that it's not necessarily that the person to whom I am responding with these links is the person to click, but the person who might otherwise be swayed by what these persons are saying, who have not yet been convinced of his truth.
That's a significant and nuanced point. You're not trying to have a conversation with the person you're talking to. You're really talking to an audience.
Exactly.
You're really debating. You're not having an SE conversation.
That's right.
So you're really not talking about the epistemology at all. But the nature of the question that I'm asking is, I found it to be ridiculously effective to talk about the epistemology rather than throwing out fact, counterfact, fact, counterfact, fact, counterfact on a conclusion that may absolutely be completely incongruous. Like, that's not a true conclusion. But if we're just fact counterfacting and allowing people to come in and cherry pick whatever they want to support their own biases, isn't there a more effective way to have these kinds of conversations? And I found like with SC, it's about talking about the methodology, but how do you have a methodology conversation on the internet?
Right. And that's something I haven't been able to really nail down either.
Here's what I'm hearing, Ty. Let me know if you
Talk to
think
me.
this is a way to approach it. All right, you engage with the person making a claim that you disagree with. Maybe you private message them and say, "Hey, I don't agree with what you're saying, and I have reasons." Or however you set it up. But maybe you ask them, "Can we do a Zoom call, 15 minutes?
Ooh, I love that.
Just get on Zoom, the two of us, hash this out, and
No recording.
if we come up with something that we both agree on, let's post it on Facebook in
Oh,
this
that's
chat."
good. Oh, that's good.
That's excellent. That's a great idea.
That's really good. Yeah. Because now there's no audience. You are talking to each other. There's some humanity there. I know, like we're over a screen, but I can't spend more time looking up why you're wrong than listening to you and hearing you. Right. So, and I hear you for what you're saying. And I think, pull it out of that ring, pull it out of that arena, and get it to more just on a personal level where you can talk to each other. And then if they both agree, post it back on the internet and be like, hey, I just had this conversation with this guy who posted this stuff. This is what we came to as a result.
Well, Boudreaux, have you done this before several times, or is this something that you're thinking about doing?
Have I done the Zoom chat?
Yeah,
I like that idea.
I have not yet. I was just inspired by Ty's wisdom to think of that.
No, that's inspiring. That's a really good idea. I like that.
But
it also shows that you care. Like
no, I think it's a good idea. I just wonder how often. You know how it is that you get on Facebook or whatever, and you start chatting to somebody about some bad idea that they have, and they just stick by their guns. They won't change it no matter what you think, and then they start coming down on you ad hominem. I was just wondering how often that would happen face to face.
I don't know. I think face to face would be a lot harder compared to just writing someone off in a world of cancel culture that we live in right now. It's so much easier to just hit erase when you see a word you don't like. But when you're engaged in a conversation with someone, like I'm invested in this conversation, and wherever it goes, I'm willing to get to its end. And then after that will be after. But I'm here now, and I can't just push a button and be like, well, I'm just going to ignore you. It's like, I will look silly if I do that.
Yeah. Plus, it has a benefit of you're getting to know that particular person in case you see them online again. You might be able to be more friendly.
Yeah.
More inclusive, I guess.
And I like the idea of posting the video afterwards and being like, hey, we had a really cool talk. Would you mind if we just share that with people? And it might help. That could be your podcast, dude.
I'm wondering,
yeah, absolutely.
Where's Chad? Why isn't he on here?
That could be your podcast. It's like, hey, just talking to people on Facebook about stuff, and I just want to see, can we hash this out? Yeah, like the virtual summit, we'll call it, or whatever you want to call your podcast. What is your podcast name, by the way? Have you come up with a name?
We haven't come up with a name.
Bourbon Street, baby.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's right behind you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good name.
Yeah, that would be good.
Joey looks like he wants to say something.
My bad.
Well,
Joey, what you got?
I was just wondering if there's kind of like a pre-SE conversation to kind of gauge where a person's mind and personality is, to see, number one, are they capable of grasping the tools that SE can give them, and number two, are they willing to use them at all? Because I'm thinking, could it just be? It can. It can be very unproductive to get into a conversation, and especially an SE conversation, and with somebody who just is just shut down and not willing. So I'm just wondering if there's like some questions that we could ask, or a pre-conversation we can have with somebody to kind of gauge where they're at cognitively, and how closed-minded they are before we even begin on a specific plane.
Right.
So just one point, actually just 2 quick points. When I'm doing SE, I always make sure that my perspective is not, I'm here to teach this person something or prove to them why they're wrong. My mindset's always, I'm trying to understand how you're right. And if we can have an honest conversation, then we can work on that together. And if we end up getting to the conclusion of how I figured out how you're right, then I'll believe whatever's there. But if we can't get there working together, that says way more by the virtue of us working together trying to figure out how you're right and we couldn't get anywhere, than me saying, well, look, you're wrong because we couldn't get to this conclusion. And so when you have the mindset of, I'm not trying to train you, I'm not trying to teach you, and I'm not trying to advocate for anything, I'm just trying to have an honest conversation with you, and I want to find out how you're right, That is the mindset that you should have for SE, in my opinion. And then all you need at that point is just someone who's willing to have an honest conversation with you. And if you don't have that, you can't do SE. But that also says something more about the person who's not willing to engage with you. That's not your problem. That's that person's problem, sort of thing. And in those kinds of situations, there's only so much you can do. Often I've tried just giving them the board and the marker board and be like, why don't you ask me questions? And you can see what I was trying to do. And if we just switch roles and you can feel like you're more in control, you'll see exactly like the kind of conversation that I want to have. And you can ask me about anything you want. And we can just build ourselves up to that. Hey, why don't we switch that question just slightly to making it more focused on the methodology rather than just strictly targeting the conclusion? And then at the end of it, it's like, you want to swap back, or do you just want to go back and forth and move to this new topic that I want to talk about at the beginning? You could totally do that too. Gary, you look like you want to say something. Sorry for making those points extended. But what do you think about that as a mindset for doing SE since you've done it?
I think it's awesome. It's building rapport, right? A big part of it. And I was just actually typing out Rappaport's rules. Are you familiar with that? Remember Rappaport's rules? It's about how to best engage someone in a conversation with whom, rather than a heated debate. Remember I brought up this thing about.
I'm sorry, when you're saying rapport, do you mean Rappaport?
Yeah, Rappaport.
The English word Rappaport? You're
No.
saying it with a French accent. I don't understand what you're saying. Rapport. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah, but he's saying
rapport,
someone's name. This is someone's name.
Oh, I thought he was saying
rules.
like, I'm trying to have a rapport with someone. It's like, oh
Yeah.
no, that's how
No,
we say
it's not
it.
a rapport.
A rapport?
Rappaport. Rappaport's
Yeah, that's how we
rules.
say that. There
Yeah.
you go.
So I
Now
did
he's
say
speaking English.
rapport, building rapport. There's my French Canadian coming out. And then there's Rappaport's rules, which is about like steel manning a person's, your interlocutor's argument,
Right.
and trying to, present them to themselves in the best possible light possible, so that they're more inclined to have a pleasant conversation as opposed to.
Like, here's the best case scenario. If this was the case, do you still see chinks in the armor, basically?
Yeah, exactly. And it's actually, like I said about steel manning, it's about putting your interlocutor's argument in such a good way that they wish they could have presented it to you that way to begin with.
Yeah.
And you build a lot of respect from your interlocutor that way.
Yeah.
It demonstrates that you're really paying attention and that you are trying to give them as much benefit as possible before you destroy them.
You know who's really good at that, by the way, right? You know who's really good at steel manning?
Matt Dillahunty? I don't know. Who do you
I'll just say Sam
Harris.
Oh, is he? Good.
There it is.
I fall asleep, so it's all good. Larry, so before we were talking about like how when you're having conversations, you're more like interested in just getting the posts and throw them out there, and then just trying to persuade people who are watching the argument happen have a higher standard of counter arguments to deal with those guys. Have you found other people responding to those links in a positive or productive way? Like, has that been a helpful way of resolving?
Yeah, generally when I post like that, somebody's got a erroneous view or false view of something, and I bring over like a Snopes article or Google something and put it to them. Usually what I see is like 2 or 3 people will come right behind me supporting what I just said. Very few, few anyway, people will come up there and support the false view. But I found that the people that do support the false view take a real umbrage with me trying to correct it and will resort quickly to ad hominem attacks, which I could just ignore.
Larry, have you had people throw the business at you that, Snopes is, corrupt liberal media anyway? And I mean, Snopes doesn't matter because you've heard that? How do you react to that?
Oh, especially if you use like Wikipedia and they come back with a Conservapedia article.
Whoa, I didn't know there was a thing like that.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. And they're starting a new Snopes thing, which supports the conservatives, which of course is false based. Anybody who's fact based, like I would say, media company, we just go to the usual sites that support fact versus fiction. But if you're a strong right-wing conservative evangelical, that's not going to work for you, because the facts are definitely liberal leaning, as they say. But what are you going to do? I mean, the facts are on our side.
Yeah.
Just work with what you got.
I just hate the idea of like a conservative fact world and a non-conservative fact
Yes,
world.
I agree with you 100%.
I don't like that. Joey, where do you see this going, say, like 5 years from now? Like, is this going to get better, or is this going to get worse as new technology continues to, come into our mindset and world being?
Well, I think as with most things, it depends on us. It depends on and how we adapt to it and how we choose to use it. As long as people like us continue to do what we do, we just focus on what we as individuals and we as the groups that we identify with have power over, and just do our best with whatever comes, including new technology. So that would be my response to that.
Dred, how do you feel about this, and any points in general? No, you just posted something. I just set up the perfect ball on the tee for you.
Well, I guess I didn't quite get the question.
Do you have points in general for how to have good means of communication with people?
Oh,
on the
okay.
internet?
Well,
and any tips that you would recommend? That you may have recently posted, yes or no? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm literally hallucinating. But like, that's the slowest I can throw the ball, Gary. It's gonna fall to the ground before it goes to
It's gonna hit me right in the head.
He did a punt. No.
Did I misunderstand?
So,
Did I understand the question? Because I feel like my answer.
No, you got it, Joey. We're waiting for Dred to like come to shore.
okay, so I did. I posted the Rappaport's rules.
And
it's about attempting to re-express your target's position so clearly, vividly, and fairly that your target says, "Thanks, I wish I had thought of putting it that way." Secondly, you should list any points of agreement, especially if they are not matters of general or widespread agreement, so that way you're clear on what the points are. And then you should mention anything you have learned from your target. And then finally, and this is after you've done all the other three, that you are permitted then to introduce any word of rebuttal or criticism.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm also going to throw another thing out too. I think things are constantly getting better. And there's always going to be the growing pains of like, oh man, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this is such a big problem. I can't believe there's such a huge mess to fix. Recognizing that mess, being aware of the problem, knowing that there's an issue to be resolved is the first step to getting the problem resolved. And we've spent maybe a millennia thinking, I only need to know what's going on in my own town. I only need to know what's going on in my own village, in my own family, in my own house. And now we have this worldview that's opening up to the world where everyone's communicating with each other. And we're seeing things that we don't like. And that's a good thing, because now we know what we can fix. And it's always going to be the growing pain of like, man, this is such a daunting problem, but we fixed bigger problems before. And now it's just the idea of like, okay, what can we do now to resolve this? We're going to make some mistakes, but we're going to find out what works the best and just keep moving on from there. I think it'd be really cool. All right. Closing out the show pretty soon. How about we do a roll call? Eric, would you mind posting me the link to your music video again, and then also plugging it, and podcast news? What's going on with you in the future? What should we check out?
Yeah. I'll post the link here in a second, but made a fun little video with my daughter on a cover of an 80s song from Men at Work.
Nice.
Using COVID-19 lyrics, and it's very Kentucky specific. I threw a couple good shout outs to our governor.
Yeah.
It's fun. And Joey, I still want some feedback from you, because you're the comedian. I want to know if I'm working as a lyricist or not. But
are you talking about the video that you did about the governor?
Yeah.
Kentucky governor. I very much enjoyed it. I think you did a great job.
Cool.
Nice. High praise.
Yeah, please post the link.
I'll put the link on here in a minute. But yes, I keep threatening that we are Chad and the Paler and I are going to put our podcast together. I'm going to take your advice, Ty. We're gonna just take what we got, I think, and get it.
Gotta let it baby go. Yeah, just gotta let it float. It's gonna be all right.
Yeah.
And then I also think a follow up of doing those conversations with Facebook people would be really cool too.
That would be
yeah.
neat. I got to build up the courage for that. I don't know if I got the courage to.
You can start with your friends. You already do with people in the summit. Just be like, hey, summit guy, do you want to? Yeah, I'll volunteer. I have crazy stuff I think about all the time. So like, that's what we're here for. Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Dred, where you at? Where can we find you?
Well, of course, you can find me on my YouTube channel, Mind Pirate, Pyrate.
Nice.
But I did want to mention that I connected with the executive director, or the person that runs the show over at our local college, and had asked about the possibility of running a short course there on critical thinking and as the tools of skepticism.
This.
And she is all over it. So of course, there's a lot of resources over at skeptic.org. Michael Shermer, Skepticism 101, the baloney detection toolkit. So I think I'm going to put something together here. So once college opens up, we'll get something rolling, and that using that as a means to sort of see what interest there is locally for people to, have these SE discussions as well.
I dig it.
Kind of like generating some interest to SE through something that other people pay to attend.
I really love it. Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good.
Joey, where you at? Where can we find you?
For my music and comedy, you just you can follow me on Twitter at JWK Hates the News, and just look up JW Kennedy on Facebook as a channel. For my street epistemology, it's going to be Speak Your Beautiful Mind on Twitter. You can follow it on Twitter at Your Beautiful Mind. That's spelled UR, so at Your Beautiful Mind. And Speak Your Beautiful Mind on YouTube. And there's no content yet on either one of those channels yet, until once everything starts lifting up and start getting into that. Also, I just recorded a first podcast with a guy named Carl who does SE. His name for his SE channel is Campfire Combos. And we decided to get together, and we don't know how far this is going to go, but what it's called, the channel is going to be called Centratheist, and it's about we're basically just two atheists that consider ourselves centrists when it comes to politics, and it's basically our perspective on things from not identifying with either the right or the left, and our thoughts on things. So. Yeah.
Okay.
Very cool.
Pretty cool. I would dare say that if you're watching this video, you probably already know about my channel. So I'm going to make a recommendation that you check out an interview with a friend of mine named Fanny Ann Zai. She just did an interview with a guy named Lawrence Krauss, who's apparently a person that's Eric respects a lot. So that must mean he's a famous atheist dude.
He's a physicist.
Okay.
An incredible physicist, yes.
Okay. Cool. And you can check out that video on Fanny Ann Zai's channel. Her name is Fanny, last name Anzai. Check out her stuff. It's really good.
Good call.
Larry, why don't you close us out?
Okay. My content is basically on digitalfreethought.com. Be sure to click on the blog button. Once you go to the blog, you can read articles. You can listen to atheist-themed music. And you can also find the archives of all of these radio shows that we have done on Digital Freethought Radio Hour. If you have any questions for the show, you can send them to askanatheist@knoxvilleatheist.org, and we'll answer them on future shows. And if you have podcast players, you can find our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, Luminary Podcasts, iHeart, et cetera, et cetera. Also, I have a book on Amazon. It's called Atheism, What's It All About?
What's the point of what's all about?
That's right. And it's basically articles from my Facebook page, but you can have them all in hardback if you like, or softback if you like.
Also, random
manual
note,
reading.
the atheist community of Austin has been reposting those blog posts in their newsletter in the SE Corner, and they've been doing it all throughout 2019. And so if you are in Austin area and you have the Atheist Community of Austin book, and there's the SE Corner, the 2-page book, that's this guy, or wherever his screen's at.
This guy.
That's this dude. This guy wrote that. So good stuff, man.
Well, thanks for the plug. I also have a YouTube channel under Doubter 5, but the content's kind of old, but of course it's still valuable. It's all about atheism. And as I like to close out the show generally, I remind everybody that everybody's going to somebody else's hell. The time to worry about it is when they prove that heavens and hells and souls are real. Until then, don't sweat it. Enjoy your life, and we'll see you next week. Say bye, y'all.
Bye,
Bye, all.
everybody.
Bye.
Peace.